I'm going to post a Google Doc in the chat. So go ahead and click on that. This is going to be our roadmap for the next little bit as we work through creating our goals for 2024 and really dive into what we want and how we want to get there. So like I said, go ahead and grab that link. And what you'll do is you won't be able to edit that specific link, but what you can do is just go up to the file and then go down to create a copy. And then once you create a copy, then you can save it to your own desktop and then you can edit it. So you can name it whatever you want to name it. You can rename it, whatever you want to do. Then just make sure that you are using that to make your notes. I made it into a Google Doc versus a PDF because Google Docs are a lot easier to write notes in versus a PDF. You're kind of stuck within the parameters I give you. So depending on how much, brainstorming, writing, we're going to be very interactive during this time together. We'll probably go for about 60 minutes, give or take, maybe up to 75, no longer than 90 minutes. But I promise you that at the end of this 90 minutes, you will have very clear goals of what you want to get done in 2024. But more importantly, you'll have a big reason why you want to get it done. And we'll kind of go through that a little bit more. Let's dive right in. Go ahead and make a copy. And we're going to work through this. There's going to be times where I'm going to ask you questions and I want you guys to unmute and really chime in. I did not call this a webinar where I'm just going to blah, 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 talk the whole time and not have this be interactive. I also am going to be asking questions and asking for your feedback, asking what you wrote down. One of the cool things about doing something like this all together is that you may feel stuck in certain areas and like, oh, I don't know about this goal, or I don't know if I really want this and that. But then as you start hearing other people talk, you'll have light bulbs that go off and you're like, oh, wait a minute. No, I don't want this. I actually want that. You'll also be able to put yourself in their shoes. And really the best way to participate is to fully listen. So let's say I am talking with one person, like let's say it's Eric, and he and I are going back and forth on his goals. Your best advantage is going to be fully listening and putting yourself in that in his shoes. Because when you are as a participant but in the hot seat, you're going to miss certain information. You're going to get what you need out of it, but you're also going to miss certain information because you're in the hot seat. But as you're listening, you're going to get more information and get more understanding and more insight as a listener. So just because it's somebody else's turn and we're working through something, or I'm coaching them on how to actually write a goal, and that's really important, you're going to be like, oh, wait a minute, I didn't do that on mine. Oh, wait a minute, I see where he's going. Oh, I see something that he hasn't seen yet. And so you're going to be able to get more out of the conversation the more you listen. A lot of times in leadership, we think of leaders as somebody who just barks orders, says something, commands, very, head of the totem pole type of a situation. But in business, if we can switch that around and have leaders be someone who listens as well as creates a vision for the future, that's when our employees actually come on board with us and they actually start participating in our business versus us micromanaging them to run our business. And so one of the cool things about you all being here and about goal setting is you are developing yourself as a leader and you're creating something that other people can participate in and other people can be, use and grow through your vision and your goals and stuff. And so I'm really just want to applaud all of you for showing up and for being here and for really diving into what your business is or what you want it to become, but where it is right now. And let's bridge that gap during this time together. So like I mentioned, this is going to be a full participation workshop. It is not just me, blah, 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 the whole time. We are going to go back and forth. We're going to participate. We're going to answer questions. If you want to add something or chime in or ask somebody else a question, please do so. Don't consider just me the one who has to have all the answers and do all the talking. Now, who am I? Some of you know me from my email. Some of you know me from just a Facebook ad. And I am Liz Chisholm. I have been a business owner for over 10 years now. I have been in manufacturing. I've been in construction. I grew up in the trades. My dad's a third generation floor covering contractor. So I grew up with, going to work with him when I was little and learning how to do all the things. So he was a floor covering contractor. And then about 10 years into being a floor covering contractor and learning from his dad, he actually became a general contractor. And so I've built houses from the ground up with him. I have plumbed bathrooms. I've done all the things. And throughout that time of working with him, I have learned how to help other people do the right thing. And my dad was a great example of not only teaching us the trade, but also teaching us how to be a hard worker and how to be motivated to get the job done, even if he wasn't around. And so I've taken that into the other businesses that I've started with my husband. We've been in business together for the whole entire time, so for 10 years. And the last 4 years, I have been specifically helping contractors grow their business, implement systems, increase their profitability, and organize everything so that they can have a life outside of their business. So they can actually grow their business, but not have their time be maxed out all the time. So that is where I am and what I do. Now let's go into the workshop. Now I've met most of you. I get a chance to meet you, Silvio. Where are you calling from?
I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. And then I think that's it. Did I get everyone? Oh, Vin, I think you just popped in. Were you able to get the workbook link? So
thank you.
with all of your mics unmuted, what do you think is the reason we don't set goals?
I know for myself, the reason, and I've always been a goal setter, even since I was young. I'd write down my ideas and stuff like that. But when you take it into the real world and implement it, sometimes it seems like loading your plate at Thanksgiving dinner, and you think, oh, I'm so hungry for all this food, I'm going to be able to eat it in this much time, and you can't. And so trying to learn from unexpected or unrealistic goals has kind of been a trouble for me, where I kind of just, okay, it's a goal. I know I got my general goal, but it's going to have to be vague, because otherwise I'm disappointed when I don't get to achieve it.
Yep. Who else wants to chime in?
I hate setting goals.
I like your honesty.
Yeah.
I used to set lots of ambitious goals in my younger days and stuff, and I'd always feel disappointed. And I think my fault was I would set it so it'd be like, oh, on my birthday when I turn 30, I'm going to be, financially free, or I'm going to or whatever it may be. And then when I don't hit it, and it just makes for a really crappy birthday. So I've created this connection where I just dislike setting goals. I tend to lean more into like a visual dream board, or having like a dream board like screen on my phone. And I found that as long as it's a constant reminder, as long as I see it because I'm very visual, or it's in front of me, then I'm much more likely to achieve it. But when I link it to like a specific day or a specific number, I don't think I've ever hit one of those as a goal personally.
Yep, definitely. Anyone else want to add on to that?
I hope so, because right now we got the theme of disappointment is why we're not setting.
Yeah, a lot of times we don't set goal because of past failure, disappointment, even the perceived discomfort of what it would be like if we did achieve that. It's the unknown. And so we don't like change. We don't like the unknown. And so not achieving something is better than even the perceived possibility of achieving something. Sometimes we don't really know what we want. And so we chase after a dream that's not really what we want, and we lose that motivation or that energy to go after that goal and to actually pursue something, because deep down it's something that somebody else has put on for us. It's some obligation we feel like. And a lot of times we don't really recognize it as that at first, but when you really dive in and, as we get into how to set goals, understanding of what we actually really want is super important. So why do you think we should set goals? Now that we've gotten through all of the stuff of why we don't set goals, why do you think we should set goals?
They can give us a plan of the steps that need to be taken, to achieve a particular goal, or that's what I'm thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it sets a direction to where we need to go from where we are now.
Yep. What else do you think?
Gives us a reason to get out of bed in the morning.
That's very true. That's very true. So goals are linked to higher performance, and it actually helps you become a stronger leader. Like I mentioned before, leadership is creating that compelling future for your employees and fulfilling it with your employees, and not having to bark orders at them all the time. So goal setting actually can improve your business. Even if you don't reach the goal, it will improve your business. And I'll get into that a little bit more later. It also, when you write a goal correctly and you think about a goal correctly, it actually helps you be motivated for the courageous action that you're needing to take in order to achieve that goal. Because if a goal was super easy, you'd achieve it and you'd be like, well, I didn't get anything fun out of that. It's just normal life. I just was going along with my life. And so you're not actually pushing yourself for that courageous action that's going to change what you want to change. It increases your confidence. It increases your satisfaction. Another cool thing about setting goals is that it reduces your stress. Now, here's why. Is most stress is related to not being clear about what you want. But when you actually define what you want and what you're going for, your stress reduces. You have that plan or that security in going, okay, this is where I'm heading. This is how I'm going to get there. And then you can keep marching in that direction. Another thing that's really cool about goal setting and about really creating what we want is breakthroughs happen when we are clear. Vagueness is one of the biggest destroyers of, just lack of motivation, of not really achieving anything. One of the big things that I like to monitor is my energy towards things. And so if I'm doing a goal that I set and I'm just drained every time that I do something towards that goal, I know that that's not really what I'm supposed to be going after. It's not something that I really want. And so that's where I need to shift a little bit. Maybe it's I need to get somebody to help me with the certain areas that I'm not good at that are pulling me down. Or maybe it's something that I don't really know where I'm going. I kind of have this vague idea of where I'm going. And then I end up not really pushing myself the way I need to push myself. So clarity is very key in setting goals. So now that we've gotten all that out of the way, one of the things that I want you all to do is to take a moment, and we're going to do an exercise for about 5 minutes. So make sure you either have a pen and paper around if you didn't download the document, or if you're just not a typer, that's not how you brainstorm and think, then just grab a piece of paper and grab a pen. And we're going to go through an exercise that for me has been one of the most powerful exercises that I have ever done in any class that I have ever taken. And my husband and I started doing this probably 8 years ago, and we'll even do it every quarter or every few weeks. We just got back from the Tony Robbins conference, and we're like, okay, one of the things they even were saying was this exact same exercise. And it's like, yep, we actually just did this. Like, we know exactly what we want and where we want and how we want it. So this is the exercise. When we talk about our goals, we talk about them in a way of crossing the finish line, of achieving something. But there's something bigger beyond that. There's something that's bigger than just achieving the goal. And that is the experience or the energy or the mental capacity, the psychology that goes into that. And that happens when we actually can see ourselves with that goal having been accomplished. So one of the things that is really important is really understanding what your vision is. And I know a lot of people throw this word out, oh, I've got a vision for this or whatever, but they don't really define what they see. And so one of the things that I want you to do is I want you to imagine that it is November 2024. Okay, so it's 1 year from now. And I want you to think about, what do you see? Let's imagine that you are sitting in your living room with your best friend or your spouse, and you're just sitting back full of gratitude with a smile on your face, and you're thinking like, wow, this past year was the best year of my life. My business grew to X percentage. My family is strong. I've been able to spend time with them. I went on vacation. Whatever it is, whatever you see, what would you tell your friend or what would you tell your spouse of why it is the best year? And I want you to I'm going to set a timer for 5 minutes, and I want you to just take the 5 minutes and write down anything and everything that you can see as if you're in the future. Okay? Does that make sense for everyone? Tyrone, I just see that you joined. I'm going to pull the workbook into the chat again real quick, so that way you can make sure that you grab it. If not, this exercise you can do completely with just a pen and paper. So I'm going to set a timer for 5 minutes, and I want you to write down everything that you see as if you're in the future. What made it the best year of your life? What has happened? Big, small, what did you accomplish? So are you all ready? Go. Okay. Who would like to share something that they wrote down?
Well, I pretty much took the idea that, like, all the things that I'm really unsettled with or unhappy with right now, and put a 180 on them, because that's what I'm striving to do, is to be super organized and on top of my book work, uh, getting things like my house put in a living trust and set up, just being proactive with things that are going to be coming up in my life that need to be set in place now. Maybe a better customer response. In other words, back to being realistic. When somebody calls, I say, yeah, I can get out there next week, and then next week comes and it's a little tough. I got to reschedule, or just um, being in control versus being reactive to everything that's being fired at me right now. Making sure all my workers are happy, and that's one thing I got going for me now, is my crew is extremely happy, and they do love working with one another, and everybody's gets along really well. So
That's
that's
incredible.
a big blessing. I would like time off. I'd like to be a practical goal setter, and I'd like to find some peace for myself. And I've always been very, very religious and thankful to God, but I would like for me to get closer to Him also.
Very cool. Who else would like to share?
I'll jump in, Liz.
Awesome.
We're currently doing about 6 ADUs per year, hoping to double that next year by end of next year. We're in the process of launching a debt fund, hoping to have that fully funded, at least $10 million by November 2024. And hoping to successfully acquire my HVAC and plumbing sub.
Very cool. Very cool. Does anyone else want to share? I know you guys are going to have an amazing 2024. So what do you guys want to do? What did you accomplish?
Yeah, I can share what I wrote here. So I wrote, it's November 2024, and we have created a garage door business that runs on its own. I no longer have to be in Colorado for the garage door business to work. This allows me to pursue other passions with actual focus and clarity, unlike before. I'm able to spend my time training in jiu-jitsu 5 hours a week and lifting twice a week, and have the flexibility I once had in my 20s. Also, I have the time to learn foreign languages and commit an hour a day to that language, whether it's Spanish, Italian, German, or Chinese.
So just out of curiosity, if you're not in Colorado, are you going to go spend your time in Spain or Germany or Mexico?
Yep.
Very cool. So let's scroll down in your workbook. And now that we've gotten some brainstorming out of the way, we've gotten some dreaming out of the way, we kind of see where we want to go. And, I hear a lot of hesitation in some of your voices, not so much Eric, but he's also in my program. So he has an advantage over all of you. So one of the magic formulas, and I consider the magic formula for setting goals, is to not just put down what you want to accomplish or whatever that result is, but pair it with the intention that you have for that. Now, what do I mean by that? So intention is really the big why behind your goal. And if you have a very small why, there's a very small chance you will accomplish that goal. If you have a very big why, it'll be a very big chance that you accomplish that goal. A couple of years ago, I was pregnant with my son, and I had some medical complications. And so I had to go on a very strict diet. Now, it wasn't, preeclampsia or anything like that. It was kind of something unique. And so basically, for my entire pregnancy, I could eat vegetables, fruit, and protein. That was it. And people were like, well, don't you crave, pickles and ice cream and all the other random stuff that people say you crave? And I was like, yeah, but my why for why I need to eat this way is so big that I don't even crave that anymore. Like, it's not even a big deal. It didn't bother me at all. And for the entire pregnancy, I was able to eat very, very healthy, very strict, never once had anything outside of what I was supposed to eat because I had a big why for that. And I did end up delivering my son very early, unfortunately. And, you know, we still had to work through a lot of medical complications. But I think back to like, well, if I didn't do that, would I even have had a son right now? So there was a big why is why I was actually eating the way I was eating. You know, if I told you that you could only have fruit, vegetables, some nuts, and, you know, chicken or steak or fish for the rest of your life, how many of you could actually do that? Probably not many. Most people have some type of, you know, New Year's resolution come January, and they say they're going to eat a certain way, and they put on this whole laundry list of stuff that they want to do or they're going to do. And really only like Superman or Superwoman could actually do everything that they write down in their New Year's resolutions, but there's no big why behind it. So when we really hone in on the intention or the why behind the goal, that is when our goals become super powerful. So the intention is not the goal. The intention is the why. But here's the cool thing is when you have a strong enough intention for your goal, you then don't actually need to accomplish the goal. You only need to accomplish the intention. Does that make sense? So here's the thing. Our goals, like the results that we want, we will never actually achieve. Goals are not meant to be achieved. They're not meant to actually be accomplished. Goals are meant to push us in the right direction and dictate what we're supposed to do right now, today, this week, this month, this quarter, in order to get to that goal. So let's say I have a goal of becoming an 8-figure business. But once I become an 8-figure business, my next goal, I'm not going to wait till I'm an 8-figure business to set another goal. I'm going to get close to that goal, and then I'm going to set another goal. So there is this gap between where we are now and where we want to be. And the point is to never close the gap. Because if we close the gap, we stop. We stop growing. We stop our business. We stop anything that keeps us going. But if we get close to that goal, you know, even 80% of that goal, it's now time to set a new goal and create a new, you know, gap between where we are and where we want to go. And all of a sudden passing that 8-figure mark is not going to be a big deal because now we want to get to multiple 8 figures. And so we're going to keep pushing past that. It's really hard when people have these goals, but they don't have the intention, because then when they don't accomplish this goal, they're frustrated, they're disappointed, like we talked about before. There's a lot of very negative emotions associated with goal setting because we're like, well, we've never accomplished them in the first place. Why even try? Well, you know, I kind of start working towards this and, well, it doesn't work out. So why do it again? But that's because we don't actually have the intention set for why we want to get to where we want to go. And we don't have that next motivation of setting that next goal, of getting to that next spot. You know, a runner who runs a marathon typically doesn't run one marathon. They run one marathon and they go, okay, what's next? What's next? Maybe it's a triathlon. Maybe it's not running. Maybe they want to get into yoga, whatever it is. They're always asking, okay, what's next? What's next? It's that gap of where you are now and where you want to be. And your intention actually can be realized before you get to that goal. So if you don't set your intentions, then it's really hard for your goals to be accomplished, because now you're just putting these chores on yourself or these, you know, checklists on yourself. Well, I got to check it off the list. And it takes away all the motivation from actually setting the goal. So the energy to accomplish your goals is actually in the intention. And your intentions help you design a goal that is really what you want. Most people, you know, we're coming up in the holidays, and most people in January go, I want to lose 10 pounds. You know, I gained 10 pounds with the holidays. I want to lose 10 pounds. So that is a goal, but why? Why do you want to lose 10 pounds? Do you want your pants to fit better? Do you want to be healthy? Do you want to be energized? You know, if you've gained 10 pounds over the holidays, you probably have no energy. You probably feel super sluggish. You're probably exhausted all the time. You probably wake up and barely pull yourself out of bed after hitting snooze 5 times. When we really get clear on why we want to lose those 10 pounds and we focus on that intention, losing the 10 pounds is actually going to be an easier project than just forcing it and willpower to lose the weight. Now, let's move on to what the result is. So if you see the equation, it says intention plus result. Some people call this a goal. I call it a result just to not be confusing. So the result is, what is the result of something we've learned? If it's, if that's your goal, is to learn something, or what is the result of our actions? So if our actions push us to somewhere, what is that result going to be? If our actions are to show up as a leader in our company, to do the hard things that, we hadn't been courageous to do before, to put the people in place that we need to put in place, put the systems in place that we need to put in place. If we do all those actions, what will that actually achieve us? That will achieve us a business in the 8 figures. That will achieve us having the time freedom to not live in Colorado. That will help us achieve specific results. If you think about math, you have this plus this equals that. So you're wanting to think like, what is that tangible thing that's a result of our intention and our actions? And then last but not least is time. If we put down a goal, but don't put when we're going to accomplish it, it does not help us dictate what we're supposed to do tomorrow. If I say I want to lose weight and next week I get sick and I lose some weight, I've accomplished my goal, but I didn't put my intention in place and I didn't put in what that result is that I wanted. And so it's kind of just this arbitrary number of like, cool, well, I lost weight, but I didn't actually get what I wanted. And so when you put that time, it helps shrink or expand what you do today. If you want to get to a certain point in your business in 1 year, there's going to be specific schedules, strategies, actions that you're going to take each quarter to get to that point. If you push that goal out to 5 years, then yeah, you could take off a bunch of time and, flounder around for a couple of years and eventually get to your goal. So the time is not necessarily a, flag in the sand saying, hey, line in the sand, a flag posted saying, hey, I'm going to get this done by this date. It's, if I'm going to get this done by this date, what is my actions need to be today in order to get there? Although I do suggest not putting it to some big holiday of some sort, like your birthday, because you then have that disappointment of like, well, I didn't actually get what I wanted, and now my birthday is associated with something else, like you have recognized. So you want to think like, okay, it is November 2024, and I'm here in my business. Okay, so what do I need to do? And you can then start backtracking it. I do a lot of stuff with systems and SOPs and understanding the processes and organizing things. And one of the big questions I always ask is like, okay, if your process was followed 100%, what is that end result? What is accomplished? Because when you start working with that in your employees and you want to help them understand, here's the end result that we want, then you can have them come alongside you and work that way backwards to creating a process that everybody's on board with, instead of you just, here's step 1, here's step 2, this is how we do things, and not getting the feedback from other people with, in regards to like your systems and stuff. And that's a whole nother topic for another day, but I just wanted to really emphasize the fact that when you understand what that end result is, you can work your way backwards much easier than if you don't really know what that end result is and when that end result should be accomplished by. So to recap all of this, your goals should be what you want to achieve, how you know that you have achieved it, and when it will be achieved by. When you actually combine all 3 of those components together, then you can create goals that will have the motivation behind them to be accomplished and to work towards. I heard a coach say many years ago, we don't want what we want because we want it. You don't want to lose the 10 pounds because you want to just lose the 10 pounds. You don't want to get your business to a certain point just because you want to get it to your certain point. We want what we want because the experience it will give us. What do we get? What do we feel? What do we experience when we've reached that goal? And so when you start thinking about it that way, you can start really honing in on, well, what do I want to experience? Okay, well, I want to experience freedom. Okay, well, what does that mean? Well, it means that I can get up whenever I want, or it means that I can just book a flight and leave tomorrow, or it means that my business is growing and my time is not growing. Like, what does that actually mean? What experience do you want to have? One of the things that my husband and I, we love to host, and we used to have this really, really small little house in San Diego. It was like 700 square feet. And that house had so many memories in it. And one of the things that we wanted to start doing more is hosting. And we wanted to have people over to our house more. And we're like, okay, well, how do we do this? Like, our living room is super tiny. We don't have a dining room. We don't have a yard of any sorts. We have this little tiny backyard. What do we do? How do we actually have people over? And we were like, okay, well, why do we want to have people over? Well, we want to build deeper relationships. We want to build friendships that are not just on this surface level of, hi, how are you? Good, great. How are you? Cool. And the conversation is over. We wanted to actually build genuine, long-lasting friendships. And the best way to do that is spending time with people. So how do we spend time with people if our house is inadequate for hosting? And so one of the things that we did is we got a small little fire pit. You've probably heard of the Solo stoves. Okay, we bought our Solo stove back when they had a Kickstarter starting their own business. So a very long time ago. And we got their little tiny 12-inch one. It was called the Urban Dwellers Solar Stove. And we put that in our backyard. That's very small, and we could fit 2, maybe 3 people in our backyard. But we would just invite people over. Hey, we're doing a fire outside. Why don't you come over and hang out? And we have built the most amazing friendships with that little fireplace, because we didn't want to host people just to have, a nice fancy dinner and have everything set down, or me to cook, or to sit in the living room and watch a football game or something. No, nothing against football games. I'm not a football player, into that. But it wasn't to just do certain things. It was to build relationships. And so when we really defined the experience that we wanted, we were able to then find the solutions. And to this day, we now have a little bit larger Solo stove. We still have people over. We still hang out by the fire. We still build friendships through the fire. But now, instead of just 2 people, we now have a larger yard, and we can now have more people over and families over. And our kids are enjoying the fire with other kids. And they're not on their screens. They're not sitting in front of a TV. They're enjoying it, because that was an experience that we wanted to create. Not, okay, this year I'm going to have 15 people over to our house in the next 3 months. Like, that didn't actually get us what we wanted. It was, what experience do we want? What is that why behind it? And then we worked our way backwards. So some of the tips for setting goals. Well, before I go on, does anyone have any questions?
Can you repeat the statement the gentleman said? We don't want.
It's in your notes, but I will definitely repeat it. It's right here. It says, we don't want what we want because we want it. We want what we want because of the experience that it will give us.
Okay.
And honestly, my husband and I say this all the time to each other, because it's like, okay, I need to do this and this and this and this and this and this and this. And he'll even stop me and ask, and he'll be like, okay, what do you want because of all these things? This is a really good way of cutting down your to-do list and not making it a chore list that's impossible to achieve. So let's move on to tips for setting goals. One of the things that people include in their goals, is they use the language more, better, or different. They want more money, they want a better body, they want a different job, different customers. It's always building on something from the past. Here's what I have in the past, and I'm just going to tweak it a little bit and change it a little bit and pull it into the future as if that's what I really want. So when you write your goals out, you may fall into the trap of more, better, different. But after you've written it out, take a second and pause and then ask, okay, what experience do I want if I were to get that? A lot of times it's not actually what you wrote down, and then it gives you a new opportunity to write an actual goal down that you really do want to accomplish. That goes on to, goals need to be something that you really want. If you really want to accomplish something, you will find a way to accomplish that. You will actually do the steps necessary to get that. A lot of times we get confused at what other people want for us, what we're supposed to do, what we're obligated to do, what we feel we have to do. And it takes all the energy away from actually accomplishing what we want. The other thing about writing goals is to write them in the past or present tense. When you say, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and I'll have this and I'll have that, you again pull the energy from it, but you also haven't told your brain that it's happened. So there's something called reticular activating system, RAS, and it's basically the thing in your brain that says, if you tell it to find something, it will find it. Have you ever bought a car, and once you've bought that car, or you're researching a car and you're like really into a specific car or a specific truck, and then you start seeing them everywhere on the roads, parked in everybody's driveway, and you're like, oh, that person has, oh, there's another one. Oh, there's another one. Oh, same color as mine. That's because you've told your brain to find that car because you've bought it, or you're imagining as if you've already bought it if you're searching for a car. So when we put our goals in the future tense, we actually don't trigger that part of our brain to find that goal. Now, if we put it in the past tense or the present tense as if it's happening now, or it has already happened, now all of a sudden our brain starts firing and finding all these ways to get to that goal. And starting to, like I talked about with the fire pit, starting to figure out, okay, how could we do this? Okay, we can't have a big fire pit. We need a little fire pit. How do we have people over? The cool thing about a fire pit is most people would come over very spontaneous because they knew we'd have a fire going and they'd want to hang out. It wasn't this big complicated meal and, everything like that. And so we ended up finding that way because we had already decided that this is something that has happened. Another thing to do and to remember is to write your goals in a full sentence. So when we just throw out these terms or these words, it's hard for us to fully get behind it. Now, there's two reasons why you want to put it in a full sentence. One is it makes it easy for you to remember it. It makes it's very clear, it's sharp, it's measurable, it's quantifiable, it's distinct, everything like that. The other reason is if it's in a full sentence, it's much easier to share with somebody else what our goals are. When we are unclear and we're just kind of throwing out some words, it's hard for us to then take those words and put them into our vocabulary and share them with somebody else. But when we have it in a sentence, like it is December or it is November 2024, and this is the amount in our bank account. When you actually say it as a statement in a full sentence, it helps you believe it, it helps you share it, and it helps other people get on board with what your goals are. Another tip for goal setting is that it needs to pass the stranger test. So again, it goes back to having that full sentence. But if you just say, oh, I just, want, my business to be thriving and me to have some financial freedom and all that type of stuff, as a stranger, if I were to grab your goals on from the piece of paper and try to make it happen, I would have no idea what you're talking about. I would have no idea what it means to have a thriving business. Does that mean doubling it? Does that mean systems are all good? Does that mean we're getting 5-star reviews all the time? Like, I don't know. What does a thriving business mean to you? And so when we have all this vagueness, it can't pass the stranger test, which is, again, is a really awesome opportunity that we're all here together to really hone in on, does everybody understand what that goal is? And we can ask each other, does this pass the stranger test? And goals should be slightly out of reach, because remember, we're never supposed to get to that goal. We're supposed to use that goal to dictate our actions today. And then when we get close to that goal, we're going to put a new goal that's further out and work on closing that gap. I personally like to add different timeframes to my goals. So not everything is by November, or not everything is by, January 1st, but like really think, okay, what are those benchmarks, or what are those way goals that I want to get to? What are things that I can say, and say, okay, in 6 months, this is what that goal is, or in 90 days, this is what my goal is. Like, this is what will have happened in 90 days. So don't just lock yourself into this 12 months. Everything's 12 months. It's 1 year from now, January 1st, all the time. One of my favorite times to actually really revisit my goals is September, August, September. The seasons are changing. School is, going back into session. And so there's kind of this like change in the air. And so it's a really good time to revisit your goals. And so a lot of times I'll put goals for January, and I'll put goals for September, and then I'll put goals by the beginning of summer. And so it kind of has these different seasons of time versus specific every quarter on April 1st and July 1st and October 1st, I set these goals and I really make it match where I am in life and what my business is doing. You know, if you have a business that's very seasonality, then use those times to set your goals for. And then last but not least, avoid phrases that again are either future tense or are very weak and vague. I'm going to do this. I want to do that. The should, coulds, mights are some of the worst things to add to your goals because it will literally take all the energy away from you and make it feel like something's forcing you to do this goal when really you're the one who said it, but you don't really understand the tone or the actions behind that. Even the may, wish, hopes, you know, hope is kind of like, well, I hope I get this done. Like that's not the energy you need to propel yourself forward and to do what you need to do. Try, need, those types of things. So I created a template for you so you can, we're going to go through and have your own, set your own goals. Is I, and then put in your intention. As a result, put in your result by X time. So the way it could read is, I have a dynamic team of experts in my company. We now have 8 full-time employees by May 2024. So the dynamic team of experts is your intention. I underlined it. That result, how can it be measured, is that you know that you've done that when you've got 8 full-time employees and you put that time stamp there. So that means you need to start hiring employees sooner. If you pushed that time back to December 2024, then maybe you're hiring 1 a month versus a couple in a very short amount of time. So that's why that time piece is really important. Here's another example. Everyone at whatever your company is experienced financial abundance. We have generated over $800,000 in revenue in January 2024. So if you have a business where people are in commission or you have performance pay or bonus pays or things like that, when you are experiencing financial abundance and everyone on your team has experienced financial abundance, your business is going to be rocking. Okay, but what does that actually mean? That won't pass the stranger test. So that's when we need to add the specifics. This is the specific amount that we have generated in a certain time period or by a certain time. So those are just a couple of ideas that can kind of help you understand how to write a goal. So this is now going to be an opportunity for you to write some goals down. And I'm going to give you about 5 minutes and then maybe another 5 minutes if we need it. But I only really do 2 categories when I do these workshops because they would be 4 hours long if we did more. And most things fall into these 2 categories if you really think about it. So your business goals could include financial goals, time goals, team size or team, company size, you know, customers served. It could have a lot to do with business. So don't just limit yourself to what you think is business goals when it could include so many other topics within that business goal. And then the next one is your personal goals. And that could include your personal finances, your personal time, like how much time freedom do you actually have? What do your relationships look like? What does your health look like? You know, I really appreciate Eric talking about specifics of I'm working out this amount of times and I'm lifting weights this amount of time. And not just here's the to-do list and this is what I'm going to do, but I'm going to be as flexible as I was in my 20s. Now he could go a little bit further with that, but that's really clear. Like, wow, that's cool. So when you write down your goals, you know, don't just limit it to like your very personal thing. Reach out to like, okay, what does your finances look like in this place? What is your time, your relationships, your health, those types of things. So I put a lot of bullet points here because I want you to not get hung up on following the, you know, formula and really honing in on one specific goal. I want you to just start writing all the goals that you thought. And then you can reword them, you can change them up a little bit, and we're going to share them in about 5 minutes. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes to come up with some goals. And just so you can understand, these is too many goals for your life. Like, I don't know, I've got like probably 8, 9 bullet points here. That's too many. But what we're going to do is we're going to basically use this as a brainstorming session. and write down as many goals as we can think of. And then we're going to start seeing themes and patterns and words and intentions. And then we can move things around, mix things up, and come up with a couple of really key goals that we want to achieve after we do this. So don't think like, oh, this is way too much. I can't do all this. This is overwhelming. Just know that this is just the brainstorming section, and we'll move on to really refining what those goals are. So I'm going to set a timer for 5 minutes. And if you all have your workbook, or you can even just have that piece of paper and write them down and just go through your business goals and your personal goals. And then I will check in with you in 5 minutes. Go. Okay, where is everyone at? Do you guys need a couple more minutes?
I've got like 2 or 3 in both categories.
Perfect.
I ran out of dots.
That's awesome. Okay, so before we go into sharing, I want you guys to look over your personal goals and your business goals and kind of just take a 30,000 foot view of them and tell me one word that would describe all of your goals. There's no wrong answer here.
Being wholesome.
Ooh, I like that. Anyone else have a word that would describe their goals, or an overall theme, or kind of a pattern that you see?
Proactive.
I think my word is fulfillment.
I like it.
I myself, I don't have a word for it. I just need it. I need a lot of work on it.
What would give you the power to get all of that done?
Time and diligence to
Ooh,
work at it.
I like diligence. Diligence,
Yeah.
perseverance. What about you, Silvio?
Tenacity.
Nice. I like it. Very cool. So now that all of us have a word, who would like to share one of their goals that either you're like, okay, this is kind of what I want, but I'm not really writing it well. I don't know what I really want, and you want help with it? Or what is a goal you want to share with all of us to see if it passes the stranger test? I know, Eric, you have a couple in each category. So you can either share a goal that you want some help with or some work. You're like, I think that there's something, that there's a goal here, but I'm not following the formula, and I'm not quite sure if I have the intention right. And so you want help with that, or share a goal that you want to see if it passes the stranger test, because there's quite a few strangers in this room. And so this is a really good opportunity.
Yes, I would like to say that this is a very great class.
Well, thank you.
My name is Tyrone Yeomans, and I've undergone a brain injury 3 years ago. But prior to that, I was a very successful business person. So by joining your class, it's very helpful to me, and the steps that I'm taking is medicinal. And I just want to say thank you and encourage all the others to continue their classwork as well.
Well, thank you. Do you have a goal that you'd like to share?
Well, I have a goal of setting up a list of all of the intentions that I want to achieve.
What is one of the intentions?
One of my intentions is opening up a successful tax office prior to tax season by April of next year.
So what would the result be of having a successful tax office?
What would
you have 5 clients? Would you have 25 clients?
Oh
Would
no,
you have employees?
I would have about 2 employees, and I want 30 consecutive clients.
That's awesome. So you can write that as, I want a successful, or I will, have a successful tax office with 2 employees and 30 customers that love the work we do by April 2024. Do you see how you can put your intention with your goal?
Yes.
You can change that up too. You can say, you can have a different intention. You can, it's like puzzle pieces. You can try it on with, okay, maybe what would it look like if I had 3 employees? Or what would it look like if I had 45 clients? Or what would it really feel like? Do we have a tiny little office, or do we have an office that's set up for helping us grow in the future? Like you can add a lot more detail to it. And you can use them as puzzle pieces and really kind of just test things out and see what's working for you.
Yes. Yes, and thank you.
You're welcome. Would anybody else like to share?
So I'll share my two business ones. I kind of had to split them up a little bit. So I wrote, I have successfully established and automated my garage door business, allowing it to seamlessly allowing it to run seamlessly without my constant presence. And then I thought, what would that look like? And so what I ended up writing was customer satisfaction will be at an all-time high thanks to the seamless process of service delivered within our business.
Very good. Can you go a little bit deeper on that? Like what it would mean to have a seamless process or seamless business?
I mean, I think what it would mean to me, it looks more long-term. Like if it's added value in the public's eyes, then we will continue to see this business. Like it's not a business that can go out of business. Like it's like, you know, because it brings value and people are excited to have us come over and repair their garage door, for example, and then refer our friends. Like that's kind of the business I wanted to create. So I have that picture in mind.
So some things you could look at is maybe like how much you're currently spending on marketing and see if you want to decrease that number so that, you know, you have a seamless business and everyone's referring business to you, then maybe your marketing dollars are down.
Yeah.
Or maybe the percentage of marketing dollars is down. Because obviously if you're growing your business, your marketing budget is going to grow. But let's say it's at 10% of your revenue. Would a seamless business be 5% of your revenue is spent on marketing? Because everyone is referring you business all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Or, you know, do you have employee turnover that's 0 because everybody loves working for your business? Or do you have a specific size business in the sense that you've got so many trucks on the roads or so many people working for you? Like put a little bit more thought into the specific numbers of what would it look like when I got to that number.
Yeah. And I think that's what you're asking me to do is difficult because I finally came around to the idea of, well, what if we had multiple locations? And then, well, what if I was in 50 cities? You know, and then it just felt so overwhelming at one point. I was like, what if I just closed my business? You know, and I kind of went the other way with it, you know, so it's hard because what I think I want today might not be what I really want as I start getting there in a year. And I think that's where the challenge comes in.
That is true. So I can send this recording of this workshop. Obviously, Eric, you're with me in my program. And, you know, I would look at your goals in 3 months and in 6 months and in 9 months and start adjusting them. Because it's not that you actually have to get to that goal. It's that it's dictating your decisions now in order to get to something you may not fully see in the future. Right now.
Right.
So if you have, you know, customer satisfaction as being one of those things that you can measure, you know, put a number on it. Okay, we serve, you know, 100 clients in a month. Say I consistently get X percentage of my customers to give me a 5-star review.
Mm-hmm.
And you can always change that number, but when you start really honing in on those specifics, that's when you have a team that can help you get those specifics. You know, when you have people on the roads and in trucks and your technicians going to people's houses, and it's like, hey, we want to get 50 5-star reviews this month, and it's halfway through the month and you've gotten 10, what behavior will start showing itself if we're now trying to get 40 5-star reviews in 15 days?
Yeah, and see, that's where I struggle because you could be on the far low end of that and have no reviews because you don't ever ask for them. Or you can prep the customer on the opposite end of the spectrum and mention the fact that our intention is deliver such good service that you leave us a Google review. I haven't even gotten to their house yet, you know, but I'm starting to prep and stage, and then maybe on that spectrum, which I'm not there, but I would maybe ask for a review up to 5 times before, during, and then after we've left, for example. So I think I look at that and go, well, I can measure it differently. So if I only have 10 reviews for the month, but I need to get 55, then I start going up that line of, I need to look back 30 days and start asking start doing follow-up calls or start reaching out to those customers. So that's where I'm like, well, is that really where I want to focus on? Do I really need 55 reviews this month?
I mean,
So
that's definitely the question you need to ask yourself. I know, especially in the home improvement space, people look at whichever company has the most reviews.
Yeah.
And we'll pay more money for somebody who has more reviews.
Yeah, I definitely felt that way getting to our first 100. And then now that we're at like 150, 160, I'm like, I don't know if I really need to get to 200. I'm not going to push like I did, but I'll eventually get there. So I mean,
and maybe that's not supposed to be part of your goal.
Right.
If you don't really want it, don't spend the energy for that.
Yeah.
Maybe
but
look at your marketing dollars, because if you want to go into 50 different states or 50 different territories, you want to really hone in on, we spend X percentage of our revenue on marketing.
Right.
And that's how you can really franchise and grow. Because it's like, well, if I'm only spending a few percentage on marketing and all my systems and everything is propelling my business forward, now I keep more profit.
Right. But I like that there's some wiggle room in it either way.
Exactly.
And so I'm trying to see it on, this is the low end of a performing, if I'm going to create a process for getting reviews, and I'm getting 0, then it's because I'm doing nothing. But if I'm getting 50 a month, then it's because I'm potentially annoying the crap out of people until they say, fine, I'll leave you a review if you leave me alone, right? Yeah. So it's somewhere in between.
Yeah. The other thing you can try, and this is really cool and really advantageous for people who are not sure what they want, is to draw that line in the sand, create that goal, and work towards that goal for 30 days. And then in 30 days, sit back, do this exercise again and go, was that something I really wanted? What do I know now, or what can I see now that will help me create a different or more exciting goal that actually will get me where I want to go? Because action is much easier to move versus inaction. It's a lot easier to take a train that's already moving and just switch the tracks and have it keep going versus a train that's brakes are on and it's not moving anywhere. It doesn't really matter which tracks are in front of it. It's not going to move. So it's better to just pick one goal, decide, okay, this month I'm going to try to get 50 reviews. And then in 30 days, put a date in your calendar and go, okay, was that something I actually wanted? Or what do I need to shift to make it something I really want?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think in reality, as I'm, I kind of came in to like figure out what goal I should be looking at, it's starting to hit me that what I really need to do is get more established with some of our already existing automations. And part of that is switching them over from one system to another, and having it all kind of come together in one platform that I want to be in, as opposed to a couple all over the place.
Speaking of that, on a total side note, there's actually a AI program that I'm testing out that does integrate with high level.
Okay.
I don't remember the name of it. That's my husband's department. I told him, I was like, well, I'll get all the information from you. I'll share it with Eric and we can kind of move on. But it's like 200 a month, I think, instead of 500.
Right.
So, and it fully integrates with high level. So it's just something to keep in mind, but that's a total sidetrack. So we're running out of time, but I put in the chat another Google Doc that is a way to kind of hone everything in and really focus on what you need to focus on. So if you look at the Google Doc, you'll see that it has an opportunity to write the year. So you can say 2024, you can put the dates. If it's, May, put whatever the dates are for a year. Put down the theme or word of the year. So you could have a theme, you could have the word, you could have something that's like, here's kind of the general idea of what my goals are. Now, I know people are like, oh, what's your word of the year? It's cool that you have that, but what's better is that word reminds you of your goal. So it's not just to have a word of the year, but it's to actually remind you of what your goal is. The next thing you should answer is who or what will support you in these goals. So I know Eric mentioned having kind of a vision board and having it on his phone, having it in his office, seeing what he wants to create all around him. So that way it's reminding him constantly of his goals. I share my goals with my husband. We goal set together. We are both in business together. We do things together. And so we look at our goals and be like, hey, do you remember what your goal is this month? Did you hit it? Let's goal set again, because we're kind of going off track and we're not sure if we're really hitting where we want to go. So put down who is going to support you in these goals. Now, you don't want to find just a random friend who you think will support you in these goals, but they really won't. You want to find somebody who's going to be aligned with where you're going. So your employees are one of the best people to share your business goals with. Your family may not be the best people to share your business goals with. They may not understand what you're trying to create, especially if you come from a family where everyone has a 9-to-5 job and you're an entrepreneur. There's a misalignment there. And so they're not going to actually be able to help you and encourage you in your goals, to help you be accountable. They're just going to be like, wow, that's a crazy idea. Why'd you think you could do that? And then you're not getting the energy that you need from your surroundings for that. Again, how are you going to remind yourself of these goals? You can fill this piece of paper out and put it in your bathroom, put it in your office, put it in your car, put it somewhere that you can see it and be reminded of regularly. And then last but not least, set a date for the next time that you're going to review your goals or go through this workbook again and go through your goal setting and say, okay, do I need a shift? Do I need to move in a different direction? Did I set a goal that I really wanted? Or did I realize that I set a goal that I don't want and I need to reevaluate my goals? So this is really important. And then there's room for your business goals, your personal goals, and then kind of what is your focus for each quarter? And then your daily habits. So this is a really good piece of paper. It's in the chat for you to fill out and have just this one paper versus an 8-page document of the whole workbook. So we're going to just wrap up really quick. As you take all your goals and you start seeing the themes, you'll find that there are a couple of really key business goals and a couple of really key personal goals. Now, most people have these beliefs about their goals. And most of the time they are limiting beliefs. They are things like, well, I want this goal. Oh, but there's no way I could ever get that. But I really want to accomplish this. But yeah, that's like silly. Why do we even think about that? And so we end up self-sabotaging for the goals that we want to actually get. We also think about all the obstacles, or we think about all the hows when we just need to think about the what. And then we end up just giving up on our goals. And so I want to ask you, what do you actually need to give up believing in order for you to achieve your goal? Like, what is that belief that you're like, well, this is just the way it is, or there's no way I could do that. I don't know why I even put it down because of X, Y, and Z. What is that belief that's going to prevent you from that action? Oh, well, I don't know if I should do this or this. I don't have a word. I don't have this. You end up having all these excuses and it's like, okay, well, what is that belief that's preventing you from creating and accomplishing that goal? So the really cool thing about changing your beliefs is to take action contrary to what you believe. So if you don't think that you can, and this is what I was talking with Eric a minute ago, if you don't think you could really get 50 reviews, or you really don't think that that's that important, take action towards that, and you're going to shift your belief. You'll either go, wow, all I'm doing is getting extra reviews and my business is doubling. That's cool. Or maybe you're like, oh, that's not really what I want. Let's shift again and find a different goal. But you don't know until you try. Like I mentioned, it's much easier to move, shift the train tracks for a train moving versus a train that stopped. It doesn't really matter which, where the train tracks are going, because you're not going anywhere in the first place. So when you have that thought, oh, this belief, then it turns into your words. Oh yeah, I don't think I can really do that. I hope to accomplish this. Yeah, it'd be really nice if I got this. And then that turns into the actions of you never actually accomplishing our goal. What you want to do is start out with the deed. And that is that courageous action. This is what's going to build you as a leader. So that deed, what is that action that you need to take in order to move in a direction? And then that's going to dictate what you say about that. And then it's going to start turning into thoughts like, wow, I did this and I said this, and now here's these thoughts that I have, like, yeah, I can do that. Wow. No, we could be in 50 states or 50 territories. That, heck yes, we can do that. And so when you start shifting your actions, you can actually shift your thoughts. We already went through who to share your goals with. So one last piece to this is the strategy and the things that you need to get there. I already shared with you the annual blueprint, but a lot of times people start thinking, okay, what am I going to do tomorrow? And what am I going to do the next day? But one of the things that I encourage you to do is actually create the strategy first. Okay, how many ways can I accomplish this goal? You know, if we go back to the weight loss, example, okay, I want to lose 10 pounds, and you have a great intention and all this stuff. Okay, well, how could I lose 10 pounds? You could lose 10 pounds by eating a specific way, by not eating at all, by getting sick, by working out and building muscle that then burns fat. Like, there's so many different ways to do that. And so brainstorm different ways of, like, what could I actually do to accomplish this goal? If that's the end result, what should I be doing? And just start brainstorming and then come up with your plan after that. Most people start coming up with a plan when they haven't really explored all the different options of how they could make that happen. And then again, this goes back to the annual plan of how are you going to remind yourself of these goals. Benjamin Franklin said, you can see a man's future in his everyday activities. So once you finish everything, and you can take some time either this evening or tomorrow, start coming up with some things like, okay, what are those daily habits that I'm going to implement in order to actually achieve that? What are those things that it's going to become habit for me? Like, I'm not even going to think about it, because it's like brushing my teeth. I don't have to have a to-do list that says brush teeth every night. It's just, I get ready for bed and I go into the bathroom and I brush my teeth and I go to bed. Like, what are those habits that you want to put into place that will help you easily and seamlessly provide that future that you want? So I did share the annual blueprint with you. And then one more thing that I'll recap this and send it in an email, is my daily to-do list. And this is basically an easy way to every day write down what are some quick wins, what are your most important tasks, what are your appointments that you've got going on, what is the connections that you want to make, what are some, just office and household chores, and then what is your meal plan or prep that you need to do, and then what are things that you want to put on your to-do list today, but once you've made that to-do list and everything's full, there's no space for it, put it into tomorrow, or erase something else and put that into tomorrow. Don't keep adding to your to-do list. So I will send this out to your email, so that way you have all of this in case you've missed it. So does anybody have any questions before we wrap up?
No, but great and informative class. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I look forward to hearing your goals. You can always email me and respond to one of the emails and share your goals with me.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't have any question, but I just want to thank you for this the training session. It's a very deep and in-depth, and a lot more than I have read or in the kind of training before. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
I would also want to say thank you. And my little recap of this is, because prior to 2023, I thought that I was pretty goal orientated and that I knew why I was doing things. But the specific job that I took on has made so much growth for me in so little time. And it's made finances very stressful. And in the middle of it, I kind of want to say the summer of 2023, I've lost my why. And I'm looking for it. And this is very helpful and sparking some imagination as to how I can get it back.
That's awesome.
Thank
Likewise,
you.
Liz, thank you. This
You're
was a
very
great,
welcome.
informative call.
I will be sending you an email with all of the things that we worked through today. And if you would like to share your goals with me, that would be awesome, because I always love helping people reach their goals. And that is one of the things that I do through my program. And I did not do this whole workshop just to pitch my program, but it is available for you if you are interested in kind of saying like, okay, I have all these goals. Now, how do I actually get there? How do I create that strategy plan? How do I hire the people? How do I get my systems in place? How do I grow my business and not have it take over my life? So if you do want some more support or some more help with that, then you can definitely reach out and book a call with me and I can help you in that.
Thank you.
Awesome.
You're welcome.
Thank
Well,
you.
I look forward to seeing your goals and thank you for participating. Thank you for, jumping in and answering questions and, really being a part of the conversation, because that didn't just benefit you, but it benefited all of us. So I just want to say thank you. And if you don't have any other questions, I'll stay on for another second or two if you guys do. But if you don't have any other questions, then I wish all of you a great Thanksgiving, a great Christmas, and all the happy holidays. And I look forward to an amazing 2024.